Oh God, I must have lost the ability to speak then. Hey guys, it is Luke, Ninja Cameraman, back with the second vlog of the year. This time, unlike the one in Portugal, which was an OCR comp, we have a Ninja comp. Not just any competition, we are here in Krakow, Poland for the Ninja European Championships. So, although once again I am not here competing as a competitor or as an athlete, I am here on the management team to assist with the team. We have, I believe, 11 different athletes total. 4 on the elite side, Beth Lodge, Jack Andrews, Harrison Daly and Henry Seal. Outside the elites, it's just specific age categories where we have Izzy, Annie, Katerina, all youth athletes, Dean Cheetham, a young athlete called Oliver Crosley Fordham, who I only met a couple of weeks before this competition. He's gotten into Ninja, is new to just competing in it. And then a very unique scenario where we've got 2 young athletes called Mason and Eden who have come all the way from Australia to represent the UK team. This kind of just cropped up out of nowhere. Put in the applications, sent over all their details, got everything sorted, all the required qualification paperwork, all that stuff. And yeah, what an incredible opportunity for them and for us to have 2 young youth athletes that under normal circumstances we probably wouldn't see competing. So the way it works, guys, we've got 3 days of competition for the championships. We've got the first 2 days being qualifiers to decide if you make it into the 3rd day, which is the finals round. So the event itself is also going to be side-by-side racing. There's 4 lanes, so up to 4 athletes running at the same time. Obviously identical courses. Having been up to the venue and seen the setup, basically the idea is you should start on top of a wall, make your way down the lane on the athlete's left-hand side. Although I think with what you're seeing right now, it will be on the right-hand side based on the camera. Reach the end, then come back on yourself, and then do the opposite lane to make your way back to the wall, climb up the wall, hit the buzzer at the end to complete your run. It's top 8 qualifying times go through to the semi-finals, and then from there it's just pure knockout. 8 will then become 4 after the semi-finals to get into the final, and then the final round, the final 4 athletes, it's just a race to the finish. It's a slight correction actually, sorry, with the semi-finals that's also based on time, so it's 8 athletes, so 2 races of 4 athletes per race, but it's not a case of head-to-head racing in the semi-finals. You are still competing on time, so you could, if chances are, for example, if you win your semi-final race, that means you're already faster theoretically than the 3 other athletes you're racing against. So all you have to do then is hope you've put up a time quick enough to beat at least one of the other 4 athletes competing in the other semi-final race, and then boom, you're in the top 4, you're in the final. And there's a real variety of obstacles. You've got obviously grip strength at the start, technical stuff, balance obstacles, power, agility. Got to climb up a wall. It's not a walked wall. It's literally a flat wall. You've got to climb up at the end. So it's a real variety of challenges for everyone. And of course, the requirement that you need to be going quick enough through all this stuff to make it into the finals anyway. So day 1 for the first of 2 days of qualifying, we didn't actually see that much action on the first day from the UK athletes. Most of the focus really went into the team relay. So as well as the individual events, we also had a team relay event where basically any pairs of athletes could put themselves forward for their country and represent. And the main headline of that was Jack Andrews and Katerina. There was a couple of other UK athletes, both of the young athletes from Australia, Mason and Eden, and then Henry and Annie, I believe, were the other pair. that put themselves forward. With I think the idea for that, it was purely an open qualifier sort of event style of things for those guys, because they weren't officially in the team relay. I think the concept really was to give them the opportunity to get a feel for the obstacles and play around on them, essentially, in preparation for their solo qualifying runs on the second day. Henry and Annie did well, finished the course with a time of 1 minute 27.59, whilst Eden and Mason also slipped up just after the halfway point at the cliffhanger / UFO combo. Fortunately, when it came to the second attempts, Jack and Katerina really managed to turn it around, finishing the course and clocking in a time of 55.39 seconds, which, at least based on the second set of runs, was good enough to put them second on the leaderboard. Likewise, Henry and Annie once again beat the course on their second attempts, a little bit slower this time, 1 minute 36.97, but still finished the course again, which means they both got to try each sets of obstacles, one getting to do the first half in the first run, the other one getting to do the second half in the second run. Eden and Mason on their second attempt did better, got to the last obstacle, the second to last obstacle, couldn't finish, but as I say, still got a feel for the obstacles themselves, the vast majority of them, and did much better compared to their first attempts, never gave up, and so huge credits to them. Aside from that, the only other qualification to really keep an eye on day one was Dean, who decided to get his 2 qualifying attempts in on the first day so he could rest for the second day and just prep, assuming he got through obviously, and prep ready for finals on the Sunday. His first attempt, he's representing for the 45 to 49 men's category. His first attempt, he did well, finished the course in a time of 1:17.1, which was good enough for second place. Whilst on his second attempt, he went even faster, finishing in a time of 1:14.36, although on that occasion, he was bumped down to third on the leaderboard. But still enough either way to get him into the finals as he planned, as he hoped for, on the Sunday. And with that, it brings us on to day 2, and this is where things really started to rack up, with all of the other 10 UK athletes doing their individual qualification runs to see how many of them could make it into the finals for day 3. We kicked off with the youth categories, which in this case would be 12 and 13 years old, which was the age category that Katerina and Eden were in. Katerina, on her first attempt, finished the course in a time of 1:30.9, which put her 7th on the leaderboard. Eden unfortunately slipped up just before halfway, but did still manage to beat 2 other athletes, so credit to her. Following that, we had Annie, who was in the 14/15-year-old category. She finished the course in a time of 1:51.93, which was enough to put her 11th on the leaderboard, so remember, you have to get into the top 8. Then we had Izzy, representing for the females in the 18 to 24-year-old category. Although she slipped up just after the halfway point, going out on the UFOs / cliffhanger combo, seemed to be an issue here. I'm not sure if there was some problem with the grip on the UFOs and they were getting really slippy. She was one of 3 athletes that dropped out on this obstacle in her age category, so she still managed to put in a performance good enough to put her second on the leaderboard after the first runs. Then we come on to the males. In this case, first would be the 10 and 11-year-olds, which is where Mason Goldsmith Carter was in. He did very well. Obviously had the practice on the first day in the teams event, was getting a feel for the obstacles, managed to finish the course in a time of 2 minutes 44.73, which put him 9th on the leaderboard, just outside of the top 8, but put him in with a chance of making it going into the second attempts. Unfortunately for Oliver, who was in the 12 to 13-year-old male category, he, like a few others, slipped up on the UFO combo, dropping out there, but was doing reasonably well up to that point, and had his second attempt to fall back on.
Then we come to the elites, starting with the females, and Beth Lodge. She was doing really well on her first attempt, but unfortunately slipped up right towards the very end and clocked in 13th on the leaderboard, with every other athlete that finished ahead of her all managing to finish the course. That was then followed by the men, where we had 3 athletes stepping up here. We had Jack Andrews. He did very well, clocking in a time of 43.42 seconds, which put him 4th on the leaderboard and just, I think, less than a second behind 3rd place and 2nd place in the qualifications. Harrison had a bit of work to do. He finished with a time of 55.03 seconds, which put him 17th. And Henry, who was right behind him, with a time of 56.66 seconds, which put him 19th on the leaderboard after the first attempts. Which then brings us back to the very beginning with the second attempts from everybody. So everybody got their first attempts in, and then we looped back to the beginning, and everyone that ran at the beginning now got their second attempts. Starting once again with Katerina. She improved her time, this time finishing in 1:14.74, which put her 5th on the leaderboard. Eden got further than she did on her first attempt, but like many others, slipped up on the UFOs, ultimately finishing 13th on the leaderboard based on the second attempts. It was a great effort nonetheless, though, considering her situation, travelling all the way from Australia, likely not getting a lot of practice in as well, not really trying anything like this before. It's nothing but huge credit, in my opinion. Just stepping up and competing already made her a winner. Then we had Annie stepping up for her second attempt. Like Katerina, finished the course again and improved her time, finishing 1:39.37. Unfortunately, other athletes around her also improved their times fast and at a faster pace than what Annie did, so she came 11th in the first set of runs. Despite having a faster time on the second run, she ultimately came in 12th on the leaderboard and unfortunately did not qualify. Then we had Izzy, and yet again, a bizarre situation. It was the UFOs. We had one of the top 4 athletes managed to finish the course. No one else could get past the UFOs, but Izzy did get there faster than anyone else and got there faster than her first attempt, which means she consolidated 2nd place going into the finals. Then we had Mason Goldsmith Carter, finished on his first attempt, but unfortunately slipped up on the UFOs on the second attempt. Was going at a really good pace though up to that point, but unfortunately slipped up and finished in 16th. But like I said with Eden, coming all the way from Australia, limited opportunity to practice, in my opinion, it was still a win in my book. Then we had Oliver. He did improve from his first attempt, but he unfortunately did slip up in the back half of the course, making his way back to the finish line. His pace, unfortunately, was also that little bit too slow, and he came in 27th. But to be fair to Oliver, he had only just picked up Ninja. He'd only just gotten into it. This was probably only his 2nd or 3rd competition anywhere, and so the fact he was doing an international competition and it was the European Championships, I think huge credit to him. And as I say, he did pick himself up after the slip up from the first attempt and improved on his second attempt. Next we had Beth. Tragically, history repeated itself as she slipped up on the same obstacle that took her down in her first attempt. She got there faster than on her first attempt, but it still wasn't enough, and with everybody else that finished ahead of her on the leaderboard all finishing the course, it sadly meant Beth came home in 14th place. Finally, we had the male elite, and it was the turn of Jack, Harrison and Henry. Jack was already in a really good position, improved his time, clocking in with pretty much 40 seconds exactly on the clock, which put him 6th on the leaderboard. Henry unfortunately had one too many slip-ups that meant, although he finished the course again, This time he finished in a time of 59.21, which was just a few seconds slower than his first attempt, and he came home 21st on the leaderboard. But Harrison, who had put in a reasonably solid time on his first attempt, he knew he had to go for it if he wanted to finish in the top 8 and qualify, and he did just that, clocking in a time of 42.32 seconds, which meant he powered through in 8th place, finishing just 1.5 tenths faster than the next best athlete, who came home in 9th. And it meant that both Jack and Harrison would be moving on to the finals in the elite category, the best of the best on the male side. And both Jack and Harrison would also be joined by Katerina in her group, Izzy in the 18 to 24 female group, and Dean, as we mentioned from day one, who came home in 3rd place in his age category, which meant we had 5 of the 11 athletes moving on to the finals on Sunday, as well as Jack and Katerina, who would also both be moving on in the team relay event. Which now brings us to the finals day. The last 8 in each age category still standing for the semi-finals to decide the 4 fastest times to get through to the final. 19 age categories, including all the elites, 3 of which had GB athletes in them. Katerina, Dean, and then Jack and Harrison in the finals. Izzy went straight through to the final 4 in her age category. The course did have some modifications made to it. The balance obstacle on the way there and back had been tweaked, been changed altogether. A few other tweaks to individual hanging obstacles, and a significant change with the second to last obstacle completely modified to a new challenge. We started off with the male elite race, which featured Harrison and Jack, both in the same semi-final race based off of their qualifying times. I was filming Harrison. He came flying out of the blocks, had the lead after the first 2 obstacles, but unfortunately he had a slip-up on the UFOs, which proved costly for his run. Jack, unfortunately, I didn't really have a lot of footage to work with. I had to use the live stream. I forgot to get it off of Laura. Jack had a solid rhythm, steady pace, but it just sadly wasn't quick enough to see him make it through despite making no mistakes. Jack eventually clocking in a time of 49.48, which puts him in 6th place, whilst Harrison came in with a time of 1:13.53, which unfortunately put him in 8th. In their defense, though, the 4 guys that made it through to the finals were all representing Israel, and they all were insane speedsters, putting in times of 40 seconds or less. So, with the greatest respects to Jack and Harrison, they were always up against it. Next, it was the turn of Katerina, who also came flying out of the blocks out of the first couple of obstacles, and she managed to keep her momentum going to lead at the halfway stage of her semi-final race. Unfortunately, it was the UFOs again. She went for a huge dismount to try to keep up her lead, but she unfortunately came up just short and put her feet on the ground, which meant she had to retry the obstacle. She fought back to keep herself in contention, but then came up against the new second to last obstacle, the bookshelf hanging twisting style obstacle. She tried to build up momentum, but unfortunately she put her feet on the ground on both attempts, and she was eliminated here. She was sadly the only person in the semi-final that didn't manage to finish the course, so Katerina came home in 8th. Last of the semi-finals was Dean, and I still don't fully know what happened here at the beginning. I don't know if he was given a false start for kicking off the platform, but he had to go all the way back round again, and it was basically the worst possible start you could imagine for Dean. He fought back, doing everything he could to catch up with the other 3 guys, with a combination of steady rhythm and taking a couple of risks, especially here on the dismount. But even with all that, the best position he was in was 3rd, coming to the balance obstacle and then I believe the unstable bookshelf. But it was on the unstable book that he managed to claw it back, getting better swing, better technique, better rhythm than anyone else that got there before him. And not only did that mean he crossed the finish line in first, but he ended up posting the fastest time in the semi-finals of 1 minute 29.6, which meant he finished top of the leaderboard in his age category, despite that false start at the beginning. So Dean was through to the finals and was looking in a very strong position. Now it was the turn of the finals, starting with Izzy, but I really did feel for her here. She slipped up on the balance obstacle. I don't know whether she wasn't worrying about it and then it got into her head when she failed it on the first attempt, but it was really tough. What made it worse was that the next best run failed the very next obstacle, so if it was based off furthest fastest, she might have got a podium even if she'd failed there just by getting to the obstacle first. She'd been struggling with illness in the weeks and months leading up to this, so hadn't been able to do a lot of ninja training. I really did feel for Izzy here. But after this, it was once again the turn of Dean, and he got off to a good start, a much better start than he had in his semi-finals run. Good rhythm, solid, not the fastest, but still efficient. And then, once again, it was just another bizarre mishap. He just missed the ring at the start of the fifth obstacle, and that proved to be costly. He managed to recover quickly enough and kept it all together, and the good news was that was enough to see Dean earn a silver medal, second place. When I spoke to him afterwards, he did seem really frustrated that he missed out on the gold, but his opponent, Tomasz Boruch, he finished 17.5 seconds ahead of Dean to take the gold. Even without that slip up on the ring, would that have been enough to make up the time difference? I'm not convinced. I think Tomasz just nailed every obstacle, every technique perfectly, speed-wise as well. I think it was more down to what he did than what Dean didn't do. And at the end of the day, he still got a silver medal, and it was one that Dean thoroughly deserved. That left us with the final race, the mixed team relay race, which was also the final race of the entire weekend. We had Katarina and Jack. Katarina doing the first half of the course. She started off well with a solid rhythm, as we have seen throughout the weekend, getting through the first half of the course. This was a mixed event, as I say, so I think one of the racers was a male athlete, so came flying out of the blocks at a much quicker pace. I think the Germans were leading at the halfway point, but Katarina did still come home in third. But the real winners here were the Israel team, which we're seeing right now. They were just absolutely dominant, even though that Israel female athlete came through in second place at the halfway point. But Jack had a brilliant save here on the cliffhanger, recovering and keeping up the pace, bringing both of them back into contention, because they actually spent most of this race in third place. Here on the bookshelf, Jack took the lead on the German competitor, but there was no stopping the Israel guys. They took the gold, and then there was this rather funny incident at the end here. After hitting the buzzer, they dropped down, so when Jack hit the finish line, he actually for a split second thought that they'd won, before someone then pointed out that they came home in second place. And with that, guys, that is a wrap for the Ninja European Championships. We had all the podiums, and in the end, Team GB came away with 2 silver medals, one for Dean in his age category and one for Katarina and Jack in the mixed team relay race, as we saw. Overall, I'd say it was a pretty solid performance all round for us in these championships. Even though the team was small with only 11 athletes, everyone did themselves proud just for stepping up to the course. Everyone put in great efforts, and ultimately, I think everyone should walk away feeling like a winner, no matter what. The big takeaway for me, if I had to mention one other country, has to be Team Israel. Just how unbelievable they were. I think there was almost next to no podiums that didn't have at least one Israel athlete on the podium somewhere. with a lot of them taking the gold. None more so than in the men's elite category, which was Jack and Harrison. All of the top 4 were Israel athletes, and then obviously, by that logic, the podium was made up entirely of Israel athletes. For me personally, it was another hugely humbling experience to be able to be a part of this, and I have to give a huge shout out to Beth and Laura for asking me to be involved in this. As someone who's been doing ninja now for the best part of 11 years, longer than any other athlete in the UK, for me to be involved in this, even just as a spectator and as part of the management team, helping the youth athletes and just helping all of the athletes in any way that I could, it was just a hugely enjoyable experience for me. And from a bigger perspective, the fact that we've now done 10 of these vlogs, and pretty much the vast majority of them have been overseas competitions, ninja events, ninja tournaments, whatever it may be. Again, it's just been a great experience, and getting to see Krakow, a city that I probably never would have thought when I was a kid that I would go and visit. All round, just a lovely, wonderful, joyous trip, and I really enjoyed every minute of it. And I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this vlog. And until next time, I guess we'll see you guys then. Take care, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys again very soon.